As the leader of the Booner Pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch Time Sports. It's Wednesday, September 10th. We are back. It's the day of the doc. So we'll get to talk to Mr. John Maakaron. It's probably the perfect day to speak to John Maakaron.
Honestly, yeah.
He's been getting some crap today from everybody. So, you know, you'll get to hear from him. He'll address the the Dan Campbell. I know he went live already, but people were on his ass about the question he asked to Dan. So we'll get to talk to him. We'll get into Dan's comments from the press conference. Players as well spoke to the media. And then we have, which Aiden Hutchinson did weigh in on dropping into coverage. So, you know, we can get his thoughts on that. So plenty of things to get to. Jadeveon Clowney, not looking to sign with the Cowboys. He's still out there. I don't know what people feel about that, but we'll get to all those topics. But how you feeling today, Boo?
Feel good.
Yeah, it's a crazy day, man.
Crazy week. I told you before the show, it's just been a week, man. Everything's just been like a lot of things, you know. But we're here. We're good. Wednesday, the day of the doc. Good to go. It is actually a perfect day for the doc to join because the doc's been on a run. I don't know if you want to say it's like the best, and he's probably watching right now, the best or the good or bad run. I don't know. The doc's probably loving it because he's getting clicks, I'm sure. There's a lot of people on his website, but interesting from the doc today and Dan Campbell. I never thought I would see Dan Campbell. I don't think I've ever seen Dan Campbell maybe butt heads or go back at a media member. That might have been the first time I've ever seen it in 4 or 5 years. So the doc's the one that did it to him.
Yeah, he checked the doc. We'll get the doc's thoughts on that, man.
The timing of it's perfect for today. Honestly, the timing could not be any better for the doc to be joining the show.
Yeah, it is. It's like poetic that the doc and Dan goes at the doc a little bit, and then we get to have him join. So we'll get the doc's thoughts on that. 8:45, he'll be joining the show. Before we get into any Lions topics, I got to address the biggest news that happened in the nation today. Charlie Kirk was assassinated. If you do not know who Charlie Kirk is, maybe you're not into politics. And this is honestly, put your political beliefs aside. Like, this is just, we're speaking on a human level here. He's a father. He's a husband. He's a man of God. And he was politically assassinated today. Speaking
Sucks,
to
dude.
students.
Sad.
Doing his college tour, which again, like, it's not even about what you think of Charlie Kirk. It's just the human element of it. I don't care what side you're on. You can at least understand that children lost their father, a wife lost her husband, and I think this, in the fashion in which he passed away, was terrible. It's terrible losing any human life, but especially someone. He's 31 years old. You know, he's 31 years old, 2 children. And honestly, thoughts and prayers are with his family. All the people that had to watch that at that college campus, probably traumatizing as well. Last I checked, they have somebody in custody, but it's just awful that the country's at a point right now where it's going through some things, and
Sure.
Free speech in this country, it's getting a little tricky. And again, no matter what you think of somebody or what their opinion is, nobody should be rooting for anyone to have to die. Like, that is ridiculous. I don't care if you disagree with someone. You can have conversations, and political violence is a scary, scary thing, because if you don't have free speech, you don't have anything. And if you have to worry about potentially being killed or assassinated for the things you say, like, you're getting into some tricky waters there. So it is terrible. Rest in peace to Charlie Kirk. Again, regardless of your political views or position, it is terrible news to have to open my phone and see a 31-year-old father of 2 and husband get assassinated today. So
Stop, man. I don't think you could have said it any better. I mean, we don't ever talk about politics. I mean, I'm not a political person. It is the world we live in right now is such a sad place where whether you're on this side or that side in the middle, wherever it is, man. Like, I feel like anyone should have their opinion. It's the same thing like what we do in our lives, like talk sports. Yeah, we might butt heads on certain topics or different things, but there should never be like a hatred that comes towards it, in my opinion, no matter what it is at the end of the day, like politics, religion, sports, whatever it is, at the end of the day, you should be able to come together just as like a human race in general. That's how I look at things and I go about my life. So it sucks to see like the world in that type of situation where people, getting assassinated based off of political views or disagreements.
Right.
It's tough, dude. Like it puts kind of the world and that we live in into perspective a little bit on where it's at as a whole. And I don't know. I always look at it as like, I'm just going to always try and do my part to, not try and, separate people or anything like that. It's just try and bring people together, whether that's what we do here every day with sports and bring, people who might have different political beliefs or backgrounds or whatever it is together just to talk sports for a couple hours a day, and kind of just forget about everything else, externally in life, and just take those few hours to like just, something that we can all talk about.
Yeah.
So it sucks. Rest in peace to him. It's so sad, dude. And I know obviously like, I mean, something like this doesn't happen every day, but there are, a lot of different things that happen in the world, whether it's like school shootings or all these different things, which there was another one today, like all of that. It's just like the world we're living. It's just so it's scary, man. It really is. But everyone can, at the end of the day, it's like if everyone does their, part to try and make this world a better place. But it's just so sad to see something like that happen. And the videos, like everything about it, it's just, it definitely shakes you up a little bit. Today's been a weird day. This week's been really weird. I'll say that. And then today was just like another, like this is just, so it's a weird, one of those things, man.
Yeah. It's just a reminder to people to use the power of conversation for disagreements, not the power of violence. You can disagree with someone, but violence is never the freaking answer because you simply disagree with what another individual thinks or says. It's sad, that's the world we're living in currently. And the reality is it just can't you can't allow it to silence you. You should be able to say what you want. This is a free country and we are all together. We live together. We're all Americans. So sports is our way to connect people and have me and you yell at each other and argue. In politics is obviously a much, much, much higher level of disagreeing than what we talk about. We never want to like inflict
different world, man.
Sports takes, but politics, it's very tricky. So again, on a human level, have conversations, man. Like just have conversations. You don't have to resort to violence. So RIP to Charlie Kirk, man. Thoughts and prayers. I mean, his children and wife,
his family.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine. It's absolutely terrible. And the fact that I think they were at that event too is terrible. So, my advice before we move on would be to hug a loved one, hug a friend, or, show, it's a reminder that tomorrow is not promised. So, value the people around you. It's very, very important. I appreciate a Lone Wolf 2-1. Appreciate the $5. Says Rip Charlie Kirk was a good man and the godly man too. Believe in God, praying for his family. Alone God, appreciate that as well. Again, like doesn't matter if you like him or don't like him. I don't even care, to be honest. It's just it's a sad thing. It really is sad.
Puts life in perspective, man. Honestly, something like that. I know it's as crazy as it sounds because death happens every day, but just so publicly, like an assassination of, over just disagreements. It just puts life in, like, it's too short, in my opinion,
way too short
to have disagreements with people and just kind of go through stuff like that to where you just, like you said, hug your loved ones, man. People around you, like
call someone you haven't talked to in a while. Tell them you love them. Just
life's way too short, man.
Let's talk some football, man. We got plenty to get to. Like I said, I want to start off with the injury report because it did pop up today, some new injuries. I know last week we were talking about how there was no really significant injuries. There's a little more on the injury report. So
it's weird.
This is what it looks like today for Wednesday's practice. Jack Campbell, ankle, no practice. Taylor Decker, shoulder. no practice. Trevor Nowatzki, elbow, limited practice.
He's back.
He is back. Sione Vaki, limited practice. He is trending back. Terran Arnold, this is big news. Full practice with the groin injury. So I'm not a doctor, so I think the skeptic in me is like, hopefully we don't push this thing and it gets worse. But if they think he can play and he feels great, then hey, they're gonna need him on Sunday. So he looks like he's full go. And then Daniel Thomas, who they signed from the Jags, I think he was on the practice squad, or they released him. He was formerly a Jaguar, and he's a safety, plays special teams for the Lions. He has a hand injury, but he had a full practice. So, I don't know. The Jack Campbell ankle thing, I don't know. I think that might be just more so nursing. He played 100% of the snaps. So he did play a lot of snaps on Sunday, but he did not practice today as well.
I'm interested.
Decker did talk about how he's kind of battling something. I don't know the shoulder thing, but
the Jack one, I'm interested with that is ankle. I wonder how severe it is for him not to practice. That one's interesting. I think that's something to keep an eye on. I think the fact that it's Wednesday, no practice, it's an ankle injury. Maybe they're just being cautious. I'm interested in if they speak with someone in the next couple of days, whether it's Shepard or if it's Dan Campbell, if they're able to get something out of Jack Campbell and see what's going on. So that's an interesting one. You are correct though. The Terrion one, I would guess that if it was anything serious or it was close to that, he would have been limited or out today. So I think that's actually a positive, Jeff. I know what you mean. Like, hey, there's a worry. My guess is, though, if there was any sort of worry, like 5% of a worry, he would have been at least limited today. And the fact that he was full practice, a full go, shows, in my opinion, that there's nothing to worry about with Terra. Maybe he's not 100%. Maybe he's like 90, 80%, and he's just pushing through it, and it's not something that can get worse, and they know that, and he's doing rehab, and he's going through everything that he needs to get ready for Sunday. But I think the fact that he was full practice today is a positive sign for Lions fans. That's something you can look at and go, okay, the Terrion thing's not serious. If it was, that would have been a completely different story at practice today.
Yeah, and I saw. I mean, the Terran Arnold thing. I want him to play. This is the thing people got to understand with Terran Arnold is when you saw how he started the game, he looked like the better corner than DJ Reed. But
he looked good, man. He made a couple plays.
As the game went on, when I believe the injury occurred post-injury, he got burnt on 2 plays, and then he was out. So I think he was trying to play, just a theory, I think he was trying to play through that groin injury. It just didn't work, and he was out. Yeah. But before that, he actually looked like the Terran Arnold that we've been seeing reported. I mean, the first, he had a pass breakup.
Couple tackles like in the run game, big time tackles too, where he was like flying in and he was like physical, looked really good in the run game as well.
I think he was getting a lot of crap for kind of the game on Sunday, but I think there's a little more context in there. I don't know if it was all just this guy's just trash. It's like, no, did you see how he started the game? DJ Reed actually got burnt to start the game, and then I think Terran Arnold got targeted and he had a pass breakup.
Yeah, so, I do think too with Terrion though, like after he did get hurt, and I think when I was listening to the Lions Collective when you guys did that, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Justin Rogers who did bring it up. When you do watch back those plays, it wasn't all just Terrion who got cooked. Like yes, he got beat, but it looked like there was kind of like a screen that he got hit with on the touchdown. And so like there were definitely some different plays where, one, he's hurt and you could tell he's battling through that, but 2 as well, like he gets hit and he gets knocked off his spot while also being injured and trying to recover. That's a tough spot to be in. And then that's what people, especially if you get scored on, that's what people are going to hold you against, times 100. If you get beat in a normal play and it's for 10, 15 yards, people are going to say, Terrion, what's going on? But if you get beat for a touchdown and it's a wide open touchdown the way it was, people aren't 95% of fans and people aren't going to watch that play back and 1, realize he was injured, and 2, realize he got knocked off his spot and wasn't able to recover. So he's going to be, I think TA is going to be just fine. I'm just interested to see what this injury looks like come Sunday. Cause I do think if he is healthy, Jeff, he did look very good the first couple. He looked like how we've been boosting him up from training camp when we were there. Because he looked great in training camp. Like he looked, the confidence, everything about it. It was like, dude, this guy can play. He looks like a different Terrion Arnold.
Swagger was there. The play was there. Like I said early on against the Packers, he's still confident, obviously, but the play was there. I hope we'll see. Hopefully it trends only upwards. I can't get much worse than how it ended before he left with injury. It can't get any worse really for this entire team. I guess technically it could, but that was bad. So I think there's
it's only up from here at this point.
Right? Like,
yeah, I would hope. Honestly, if it's any lower, we're in a tough spot.
Yeah, we're in a tough spot. Well, it seems like Doc was in a tough spot today when he asked Dan a question about the offense. I'm going to play the clip of Dan and Doc going at it, and we can give our thoughts. But here's the Doc's question to Dan Campbell.
Oh, here we go.
Really hard.
With just how good the offense was last year under Ben Johnson, people are just wondering, myself just included, would it have been feasible just to, even I know John's a different coordinator, but would it have been feasible to just, Jared talked about changes in communication. There wasn't a lot of pre-snap motion. Would it have been feasible just to run the exact same offense as last year?
What are you asking? What did Jared say?
I'm saying your offense last year.
Well, no, you said something Jared said, so let me hear it.
Changes in communication.
Yeah, but you said something about emotions and
Yeah, I'm saying that would it have been feasible to, and people are wondering, the offense looks drastically different than it does last year. Would it have been feasible to just exactly run the exact same offense?
So after one game, tell me what it looks like that's drastically different.
Not a lot of pre-snap motions. Explosive plays weren't there. Wasn't as creative. Wasn't as.
You didn't see any pre-snap motions in that game?
As much as we've seen before.
I want you to go back and look at all of our motions, pre-snap motions, fast motion shifts on the road.
Last question.
Hey,
There's a new rivalry in Detroit, man, and it's the Doc and Dan Campbell, because that's back-to-back press conferences where those two had a little bit of a headbutt in there.
Well, here's where things got a little interesting, and let me just give my theory on what I think kind of happened here. I think Dan Campbell I think the way Doc asked the question confused Dan. I think the way he asked it came off like he was insinuating Jared said something about pre-snap motions.
Yeah.
Because he said it. I noticed in there he said Jared mentioned, he talked about communication, then he said pre-snap motions, but it sounded like in the same sentence it was like Jared was also saying stuff. So that's why Dan was like, what did Jared say? Like said something about pre-snap motions. I think it was just a confusing question a little bit, and it's just from rewatching it, rather than the actual question being bad. I don't think it's a bad question to ask Dan Campbell, like, hey, something about the pre-snap motions from Ben Johnson to John Morton. I think it's just how it was constructed.
I think even
a little like Dan was kind of like, wait, what the?
I think even the fact, and this I texted Doc after and told him because he asked about it, and I just like, I think the question, I think the meat. Like the
potatoes.
Meat and potatoes is the question of wanting to know, one, whether it's the pre-snap motion, but I think just deeper into it was, hey, offense looked different than it did last year. We were told it was going to be the same. Why does it look different? Like, I think that's just like in general, like, and I texted Doc that. I said, that's just the question. And I'm so interested to hear the Doc's response later tonight. But like, I just think maybe Doc lumped too much of it into one, and the question maybe didn't come off very well, and that was where Dan was a little like taken aback. He heard in there, obviously offense looked different, and then Dan in his mind's like, well, it's been one game, what are we talking about? And then two, he hears the Jared Goff thing, and then the Jared Goff quote of the communication is different, on top of it felt like it got lumped in with the offense looking a little bit different and all of that. That all got lumped together. So I think Dan might have just taken it the wrong way. If it was, and I'm interested to hear Dan's, because I think it's hard for both sides. Like for Dan, I think it was difficult for him to answer the question because the way Doc asked it, I would be actually interested to hear Dan answer the question. Hey, did it feel like this offense on Sunday looked different and felt different than it did in years past? I think that's a fair question. And I would be interested just to straight up hear how Dan thought about that, and if he felt like the same thing. That's how I would be interested in that.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Because you're right. The better question would have been, and I'm going to ask Doc this, if he probably wishes he had that one back to like say a little bit different.
Well, it's gone like mega viral. It has gone like mega viral. The Doc.
People were going at the doc, like the question was just ridiculous question. It wasn't a ridiculous question. How it was phrased was a little confusing. That's really it.
Yeah,
like,
that's where I think things got a
because
little.
I'm going to pull up a tweet in a second here that actually gives context to the doc's question, which makes it more valid. The question valid. I will show you a tweet here. I do want to show Steve Lehman's comment. Doc was essentially trying to ask, why weren't you running the same offense? Dan said he wanted continuity and hired Morton to keep this offense humming. Yeah. The intention to hire John Morton was to keep continuity, and visually it just didn't look like the same offense. So that's a fair question. Whether, it's hard to run a lot of things when your offensive line stinks, but just from like a pre-snap point of view, it did. And look at, here's what Scott tweeted out, Scott Barrett, and he actually helped out. He helped out the doc. He said, let me get this straight. He says, really not sure what Dan Campbell's talking about here. The Lions used motion 66% of their dropbacks in road games last year, sixth the most. They fell to just 23% last week, third fewest of all teams. See, look at road games. See, Doc's question was, and Dan was technically incorrect based on that. Look at Dan, 2024 all motion, 66%, pre-snap motion, 30.8%, 21st. All motion, they ranked 6th. During snap motion, 35.2%, which ranked 3rd. Shifts, 2.4%, which ranked 4th. And then look what they did in the game. All motion, 23.3, which ranks 30th. Pre-snap motion, 9.3, which ranks 30th. During snap motion, 14%, which ranks 21st. Shifts, no shifts, 32nd. So technically, Doc's question is absolutely very valid. It's just, it was confusing. It was just a confusing question. But, I don't know. That's actually something we brought up before Doc asked the question. That's why I actually was kind of defending him, because I'm like, it looked like they didn't use as much pre-snap motion. I just visually, I didn't have the data, but it's just visual.
The data's there, though, and the data shows that they didn't compared to last year, especially road games last year as well.
Right.
So, I stick with the bottom line of it. Like, I would just like to know if Dan felt like the offense did look different, or if they because the question comes up that all off season, like John Morton, there's a clip of him being like, hey, why would I change? Like, the doc actually posted the quote later in the day. Like, why would I change this offense if it was already what it was last year? And then obviously, and I've been the biggest guys that was pushing the narrative of John Morton helped build this offense. So why did it look a little different? And there's a side of me, Jeff, where I think once we get into Sunday versus the Bears, that people are going to see more similarities, because I think the reason it looked so different last Sunday was just because they couldn't run the ball. Like, they couldn't figure out how to run the ball. And that was one of the biggest things. I think that started with the offensive line. So that's where I think things started looking so much different, is because they couldn't establish the run, which they've done in the past. And it's a new old line, so it's a little harder to establish it in week 1. So as this thing keeps going a little bit more, I think you are going to see, and a lot of people might be like, well, they're making adjustments. Like, yeah, they are. But I still believe, when we were at training camp, a lot of the offense we saw was still things they did last year as well. That's why I remember on Monday when I said it was so shocking to see them play Sunday after we saw those training camp practices, and majority of them, the offense looked like it did in the past, and there was nothing to it. And then we never even no one had that question. None of the media, no one did until Sunday. And I think the bottom line of all of it, and I know people are like, don't want to hear this, I just think it comes down to that run game that I talked about the other day. Like, you're averaging 2 yards a carry. You'll never get into a normal offense. Like, you can't run the simplest offense in the world if you're running for 2 yards a carry. You're going to do nothing. It's not going to open anything up.
Yeah, I listen. I want to bring up this comment because it does kind of help a little bit. Trey says, shout out to Trey, by the way, my guy. He says, hey, Amon-Ra St. Brown said the crowd was loud and raucous. Have you ever heard that word?
Never in my life. I don't know a lot of the words either, though. So
right,
there's no N in there, Jeff.
I don't know. I'm just thinking of stuff.
Probably raucous. Raucous seems right. Hold on.
No,
look this up.
Sounds right.
Yeah, no, I don't know where you put an N in there somehow. Yeah, raucous, making or constituting a disturbingly harsh, loud noise.
Is that the
US? Ruckus.
Oh, that's how you
Ruckus.
spelled ruckus.
No, it's Raucous.
Raucous.
Ruckus.
Wow.
Ruckus. It's Ruckus.
We
I didn't know that's how you spelled Ruckus.
Yeah, I didn't either. We learned something new today.
That's
It
unbelievable.
was loud and ruckus.
Ruckus.
And it was hard to hear. That
How
was
would you
definitely a
have
factor
spelled
at Green Bay. Which, like,
R-U-C-K.
Lambeau Field's probably tough to hear over there, man. They actually talked a lot about that. You hear what Taylor Decker said, actually? You heard what Taylor Decker said? He said that there was times, and I don't know if it was probably because of crowd noise and because of the new offensive line, but he said there was a play, the one that you actually sent, where Dave Montgomery got just absolutely destroyed in the end zone.
Yeah.
Almost. Him and Tate were doing something completely different than
that's
what
where
Christian Mahogany, Graham and Panay were doing.
That's what the comments after us turned on that word is so funny, dude.
I guess we never
went to SVSU.
Spelt, I
got a college degree. I've never seen that word in my life once, dude. That's unbelievable. Yeah, Jared actually mentioned it today, and then actually it makes more sense thinking about it. Jared kept getting asked about the communication issues, and he said one of the problems. He said it had nothing to do. He said it had nothing to do with the how loud the stadium was. He was like, we've played in loud stadiums. I've played in loud stadiums. Like the communication of getting the plays to the guys isn't usually the problem. I think the problem was, and he had brought up that there are times where and it's always like this in the NFL, you get 2 or 3 plays. He gets 2 or 3 plays in his headset. And obviously you're able to check to the next play or kill and get to the next play or whatever it is. When that was happening, he said that guys were still stuck on different plays and they didn't realize that they switched plays. And he said it typically, like communication, it gets to everyone. Somehow Tate Ratledge was still on the first play, I'm guessing, and the rest of the offensive line or Taylor or whoever it was on like the third play that was called in the huddle. Do you see what I'm saying? So you have one guy running a completely different play and then you have everyone else doing something different. Like that should never happen in the NFL. But I think it's just because these guys are young. Like Christian Mahogany, so that was like his first true start out of the one game last year. And then obviously with Tate, that was his first true start in the NFL at all. And I think he knew he messed up at times. He even said it.
I think the big thing that was a little more concerning was, you had the offensive line, the communication. They talked about it. I don't know if Decker mentioned it, but I know Justin Rogers, Colton Pouncey, Will Birchfield, they talked about Alliance Collective too. And it was interesting because, usually, especially with this offensive line, when you had Frank and Zeitler and Taylor Decker and Panay, those guys have played so much together, especially with Goff. Like they have that rapport and the rest of the offense. They're so in sync to where they'll have a couple plays that they can go out of. Like they can check at the line of scrimmage and everyone kind of knows their role immediately. It's very just effortless. They kind of know what's going on. And then there's times where Ben Johnson and the Lions offense will just be like, hey, we're going to run this play. Whatever you're in, you're going to have to stop it. And they just usually don't stop it. It seemed like John Morton in that game with this new offense with like some new guys on the O-line, they had a couple different plays. They had a couple different plays that Jared could check out of. It was like 2 to 3 plays every single time. And it just happened so where Jared would check and half the guys would hear it, half wouldn't.
Which is the problem. So that's tough.
I think what they said was someone said, I can't remember who said it, but they're going to this week against the Bears kind of simplified a little bit.
Yep.
So they just kind of get back to running like, hey, we're just going to have plays and we're going to run those plays. And we're not going to try and make it too complicated, especially when you have a rookie, basically 2 rookies. I mean, Chris Mahogany's a second-year guy, but he has only started in like 1 game. So
I think too, like you don't have to simplify it too much. Like you're getting 2 or 3 plays in there. Just stick it. Like if you do want to have a play where you're able to kill and get to the next one, like just have 2. Just be able to have 2 instead of like. I mean, the fact that they have 3 in there and you have Tate Ratledge is his first time in the NFL in Green Bay. That was probably a mistake at the end of the day. It probably was.
Yeah. I mean, it's something they're probably going to change for this week against the Bears because I think they'll beat the Bears based off talent. But dang, man, they just keep it simple. Honestly, whatever. Diggity Dog. Let me read this comment. He says, honestly, Dan's defensiveness doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence. He seems stressed and irritated. I think he's just irritated with the offense and coordinator stuff already. I think he's just like, which honestly. That's what happens, man.
Do you know what it is?
You're going to ask those questions
For sure. I do.
But I could see where he's coming from. He's like, oh, here we go. Like, I knew this was going to happen. You know what I'm saying? He's like, if we lose, I'm going to get asked this all week probably. But that comes with the job.
He should have known. Yes, he should know.
And guys look like that.
I do think there's a sense of, and I don't know if you get this feeling. I don't know if you had time to watch. The Lions just put it out before our show, but the player interviews. These guys, like especially Jared. I think Jared's tired of hearing it too. But they know, like deep down, the way that they have these conversations and speak to the media. There's a part of me, and I don't know if I want to say it now because it's only Wednesday. There's a part of me where I feel like they beat this Bears team by like 3 scores. And I truly believe that. The way that these guys are talking and obviously they're upset about what happened and you could tell they feel a type of way that they're getting the disrespect that they're getting and the questions that are being asked, which the media has to ask those questions. Like these conversations do have to be around. That's their job. But you could tell that the players do feel some type of way about it. And these aren't players. And this is where I think people need to realize, like Lions fans and Jeff, like everyone needs to realize, like these aren't just like year 1, year 2 players that just had a bad game. These are guys that have gone to the NFC Championship game. These are guys that have gone 15-2. This is a team that's won back-to-back divisions. Like, you really think that this team's about to just let a Chicago Bears team walk in after what happened in the disrespect in national media and allow what happened in Green Bay last week to happen again? There's 0% chance. And you could hear it in these guys' voice. Like, if you watch these interviews today, Jeff, like, you can hear in Jared Goff's voice. Penei Sewell, that man sounds like he is ready to kill someone. Like, he is ready to go. And I don't know. I'm starting to get this feeling. I know it's Wednesday, Jeff. It's early. There's something brewing inside of me that's like, this is about to be like a 20-point win. Something about it.
Well,
and hey, clip it. And then when they win by 20, it's gonna be like 37 to like 12. I don't even know if that's a score.
Piece of sense. 0%. Clip it, Jeff.
There's something when I listen to it. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like this is like one of those perfect like just moments in a season. And I know it's only week 1 where a team that's one of the best rosters in the NFL and they have so many all pros and pro bowlers. How do you think that they just lay another egg? There is no chance.
You would think so. I'm not saying you're not wrong. You would think there's no chance they lay another. Like, with the talent they have, you can't put back to back. If they crap the bed again, someone's got to fall on the sword. I mean, back-to-back weeks crapping the bed, you're 0-2. That's bad. That's just bad. So I'm with you on the responding. I think offensively they will respond this week. We'll get into more of that tomorrow and the next day because we'll dive into kind of what we think with all that. I do got to tell you about the sponsor of today's show. Don't forget, the Doc is joining at 8:45, so stick around. Doc's joining in about 10 minutes, so we'll get to it when he joins as well. But I got to tell you about our friends over at Comer and Cross, so allow me to do that for you. Because Comer and Cross, in their one-day installation sale, their one-day concrete floor coatings, check them out. And you can call the number to at least ask questions. 248-834-3488. Because right now, during Comer and Cross, they got a big sale going on, offering 12 months, same as cash, or $500 in savings. So why put off getting your new Comer and Cross concrete floor with 12 months, same as cash, or $500 off? So why wait? Give them a call, 248-834-3488. That's 248-834-3488. Or you can book your free estimate at comercross.com. Tell them your friends over at Crunch Time Sports sent you. I have this clip here from Dan. We played the one from Dan Campbell. I have the clip here for Aiden Hutchinson talking about dropping into coverage. Let's hear from Aiden. And by the way, he did not seem pleased with that. But let's hear Aiden on kind of all that on Sunday. Look at the buzz cut too, dude. This guy is just
new. And does he have a new?
More of a question.
Goatee?
He might have a little goatee going on.
He has a goatee.
Trying to look like, I don't know what's going on with that.
He's got a goatee now. He said, screw everything else. I'm getting a goatee and a buzz cut.
Wow. All right. Let's like Harley Davidson, Aiden Hutchinson. Let's check it out. Let's hear what he said.
Probably more of a question for Calvin tomorrow when we talk to him, but just dropping you back in pass coverage. Can you walk us through the decisions to do that, the planning to do that, and your reaction to when those plays are called?
Yeah, it's just I think we adjusted as the game moved on, and got out of that a little bit more, but just happened to kind of be in those positions in that game, which is obviously not the most ideal situation, but the important thing is we adjusted and we evolved.
All right, so it's not going to be a core thing that we're going to see.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Probably more of a
He said,
I don't think he liked it.
no, no.
I would have to guess body language. I'm not great at reading people's body language. I've learned,
You
or
can
reading
tell
people in general.
just by the pause. Just when he asked the question, he went, whenever someone's doing that, they're like, it's the, how do I say
What's the
this?
best way I could say this
Yeah.
without getting in trouble?
He's like dialing in his thoughts. Well, yeah, no, he wants to be like, I thought it was stupid. Why would one of the best pass rushers in the league drop into coverage?
On
Unless it's
third
like,
down too.
on
Like it
third
wasn't
down.
like it was just like a run, like third and long, I believe, opportunity to get a stop. Hey, let's
That's
drop him
great.
back. We don't need that. We don't need a pass rush. We're good. Let Jordan Love
Yeah.
take as long as he wants. We got Hutch
Aiden
back there.
Hutchinson has gotten picks in his career, but they come like the usually are, I mean, the best thing for him, usually they happen around the goal line or something, like, and you're like, oh, he drops back, it's a pass play, and it's like short distance, you just have the back of the end zone, and he's got a lot of room. You're dropping this man into third down. I mean, he's not like an outside linebacker. I mean, he's a defensive end. He's a pass rusher. That's what he does. He gets after the quarterback. That's why he wants to make $50 million probably to stack quarterbacks. And he doesn't like it because
he wants to get after the quarterback, especially on a third down. He wants to get to the quarterback and make a play.
He wants sacks. Yeah, for sure. He's not trying to drop into covered. What are we doing here?
It was, and we saw Davenport drop back a couple times. Like it was just, I felt like when we were doing the watch party, we saw it. We all looked at each other. We were a little like, what is it? The flabbergasted. We were just like, whoa.
Justin Fan says, what happened to the Hutch rule? He's so good, he will probably get 20 sacks. It's always
Justin Fan's like saying it like we all made it up. This was a real thing. This wasn't like it was a made up rule that like just people who went to practice just were like, oh yeah, there's a Hutch rule. That was a real thing. I think Hutch just had a bad game. Honestly, I think the whole D line did. If you go back and watch the film, I sent you some clips, Jeff. They just they could not figure out how to get pressure. And it felt like there was times, maybe, I don't want to say like lackadaisical, but like there were guys that a couple years ago, remember like Charles Harris and the Quora brothers were like, it was just like a halfway pass rush where they would like stand up halfway through their pass rush and like just play patty cake with their guy. Or is that the word, patty cake?
Yeah, patty.
Yeah, that. And they just do that with the offensive player. That's what some of these snaps looked like. If you go back and watch the all-22, you're sitting there going, like, this guy just isn't trying to get to the quarterback. And then Will Burchfield today, I think it was him that had said he talked to Davenport, and even Marcus Davenport like knew he played bad, and Davenport was like, yeah, there was just times I look back at the game and I just wasn't going full speed. It's like, what? Are you joking? Like, this Lions team went all in on you and moved on from Zadarius Smith because of you. And you're able just to sit there and be like, yeah, man, I just didn't feel comfortable. I didn't go full tilt. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Hearing that made me a little like, that's ridiculous, dude.
You know what that just, again, speculating, but you know what that kind of gives me the vibes of? He's too worried about getting injured.
Yeah, and it's in his head.
Like in his head,
which sucks. But again,
if
Brad went all in on that.
Fear, if you're playing with no fear means like head on fire. You're playing out there. You're giving it your all. If you're scared of getting hurt, you're not playing with your head on fire.
No,
you're kind of like you're being a little more calculated, which is scary. Which I can't imagine for Davenport. It's like, dude, if I get hurt, this city's gonna erupt. Like, this city is going to absolutely erupt. So he's got to lock. He's just got to. You can't hurt. I mean, you can get hurt not playing 110%. So just give it your all, man. At least if you go down, you're like, hey, I gave it my all. I played well.
When I heard that, I was a little like, whoa, don't like that. And it's like okay, if he feels that, Jeff, where it's like he feels like he's going to get hurt, then Brad should have had someone else in there for him, and they don't. They just have him, Hutch, and AQM, and those are the only pass rushers that they technically have.
Well, Decker spoke as well, so let's hear from Taylor Decker. He said some interesting things.
I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh my God, the world's falling because the media is saying bad stuff about me. No, I remember those days. I remember when people would joke about us and clown us, and then all it takes, even though we've been winning over the years, is one off week, and then all of a sudden we're just gonna get shit on again. So, but I remember that. So I'm not gonna get too high or too low based off public, like national media. Like, it's crazy. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, there's Taylor Decker. That video comes from Eric Woodyard from ESPN. Shout out to Eric for that one. And then the Hutch video was Brad Galley. So shout out to Brad for that one as well. So those two videos. But Taylor is probably the guy. If you need to get a perspective on what the Lions have been, he is the last one essentially standing. Besides, it was him and Frank.
Yeah,
Frank's gone now. So, Decker understands it. But he understands probably that's just part of the business as well. Like, you lose, man, people are gonna get. Especially again, you lose in that fashion. They didn't lose a nail biter. Like Ravens fans. Like, I know Ravens fans are like, damn, dude, we led that game 40-25, but at least you can walk away being like, dude, we looked great on offense. We made some dumb mistakes. That secondary is concerning, no doubt about it. And they're probably worried about that. But at least they lost in some nail-biting fashion where they were in it till the end.
They
looked
looked
never in that game. They were never in that game. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
I
guess the first drive.
No, I mean, there was a point to end the half. Couple minutes left when Jared Goff threw the interception. They were in the red zone. That's why I think national media, and there are people who panic too much. Listen, there's concerns. We can have the conversations on the concerns. We've done it all week. They score. If Jared Goff doesn't throw that interception and they go score a touchdown there, they're down one touchdown and they get the ball to start the second half. So the game completely changes at that point. It's just you throw an interception, you're in the red zone, and you have a turnover, and the whole game changes from there. And Dan actually brought up a good point today where it's like, once you, like, let's say, obviously that happens. So you're down 2 possessions going into half. You get the ball back, you don't score again, and then they score. All of a sudden, you were 1 play away from making it a 1-possession game, and it turns into a 3-possession game instead. And then the best point I think Dan brought up all week. Once you're down 3 in the NFL, dude, they've came back from it. It's like with the Commanders last year, down 3 possessions. Their defense is just essentially just sit back and force them to run the ball or take short shot, dump offs, and it's impossible to come back at that point. You shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, I see. Peaceful Tim says that's the wildest take to me that I've seen all week. Chiefs and Ravens fans aren't upset. Chill. WTF, they have Super Bowl wins, and those teams looked like a football team. Well, I mean, that's the only thing I guess you could give the Lions, or you can go at the Lions for, is they don't have the pedigree of winning a Super Bowl to at least give them grace. Like, if they won a Super Bowl, it's like the last couple of years, it's like, well, they're a championship team. It's like, I guess that is fair that there's a little more.
Ravens won a Super Bowl with this current
it was like
team?
18 or
I mean,
something?
dude, it was like I don't know if there's one player on that team that
within the last, like, no, I know, I get what you're saying, but at least they have, but John was
irrelevant.
There. John was there.
Just John, but it's irrelevant. I mean, there's people talking about John Harbaugh to get fired if they don't make a Super Bowl this year because
but
it's the same thing over and
I
over
think
there.
For me, it's easier to if your coach has a Super Bowl, it's and you've been winning, it's probably a little more like, whew, okay. I would think that would be fair. Rather than the coach has never made one. He's a little more. Dan's a great coach, but that's what I don't know what I'm trying.
Can I ask you a question?
Winning a Super Bowl definitely helps with fans for sure. But what's your question?
Do you think the Doc joins today?
He might just fade the show entirely.
I don't know. He's not in here yet.
Well, while we wait on the Doc, allow me to tell you about another sponsor of the show that you guys should be using, and that is our friends over at Sleeper Fantasy. Because, guys, Sleeper Fantasy is the best fantasy app out there. And the NFL season's already here, which means you can have a chance to win 1,000 extra cash on daily fantasy football. Football's never been more exciting than it is now with players like we mentioned, Jared Goff. You got CJ Stroud, Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, etc. All you got to do is pick on stats for these stars like touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, and more for up to 1,000x payout on Sleeper. Get your picks right, and you can win big. Just use the promo code CT Sports, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Of course, terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring the program, as always. And we are going to wait on the doc as he.
Are you worried at all? He's never been this late.
He's watch him. He's probably watching, and he's like,
"Oh, he for sure is." Now he's going to take a little longer. He's for sure. The doc's WWE mind just kicked in.
He's like, "I'm going to make these guys wait." But hey, you called my question. Came at my question. Oh, there he is. Look at him. The D.
Oh man, it's like I'm seeing a ghost right now. This is unbelievable.
It is. He is really the man of the hour. All
right, by the way, before he hops into, I did say this, and this is a compliment to the doc. This man, Jeff, out of anyone in my life I've ever met, he might be the most unfazed human of all time. Anything could happen to this guy, and he just so unfazed. And I wish I had that trait, to be honest, because I get fazed by everything, and this guy just never gets fazed. I respect it, and I love it. That's why he's the doc.
I'm not like the doc. I was fazed because he whooped my ass in fantasy this week. So I hate this man with every competitive bone in my body because he gave me that L and then reminded me he gave me that L in our group chat. Please welcome to the show the publisher of Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated, host of the Lone Wolves podcast, our good friend, one of the best in the business, the DOC, John Maakaron. John, how we doing, my friend?
Good evening, my friends. Yeah, Hefe, I wanted to join a competitive fantasy league, not one where I can come in right away and dominate. My goodness.
Listen. I mean, the doc, Xavier Worthy, doc. I mean, the guy died in the first quarter. I don't know what you want from me, doc.
Jeez. I want you to draft better. I want you to compete. I want you to treat this like it's important. But man, hey. What went on today? What's the news of the day? Anything important go on today?
Well, I'll start with you, doc. People are they want to
hear.
You're
trending.
Yeah, doc is trending. We did have your back earlier. We talked about the question. We gave our honest opinion on the question, and we actually said I thought it was a fair question. Anyone who says it's not a fair question, you need to hear the question again, because I think asking Dan Campbell about pre-snap motion compared to this year in the road games, which he actually asked you go look, and we have the data, which actually proves they did it way more last year. But pre-snap when it comes to the offense in week one versus what they typically do, I think that's 1,000% a fair question. I think the way you said it might have confused Dan, and he thought Jared was maybe saying something about pre-snap motion or something. But the actual question, I appreciated, Doc. But what did you make of the stuff on Twitter, people going at the DOC? And what did you make? Just your I guess opinion on your interaction with Dan Campbell. You're the only reporter, I guess, today that you went at it with him a little bit.
No, look, I understand that Dan's going to be a favorable head coach, and when he kind of dismisses a question or just kind of passes on a question, looks a little bit angry at the question, people are going to react strongly to the person asking it. Look, in the end, my job is to ask questions. I'm blessed to be able to ask, really, in the end, things that I'm curious about that I believe people want to know about. And so the spirit of the question got twisted a little bit, but here's just the facts. The offense didn't look good. Everybody that saw that offense was jarred by how subpar it looked. It looked nothing like Ben Johnson's offense. And of course, it's not going to look exactly the same. Frank Ragnow's gone. You have a new right guard. But by and large, you have a lot of talent on that offense. It looked nothing like Ben Johnson's. And remember, John Morton is not just some outsider. He is a person who was told to us, help put this offense into place, consulted with Ben Johnson. And he told us in May that he wasn't going to change a whole heck of a lot. Now, to me, my question was, okay, is it possible, just based on the success that the Lions had last year, which is the ultimate compliment, I almost could say and sit here and tell you, last year's offense was darn near perfect. They scored in the red zone at a great clip. They scored a lot of touchdowns versus field goals. They involved a lot of different people. You could talk about Sam Laporta, sure, but J-Mo got involved. He took a step forward with 1,000 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs took a step forward. Jared Goff had a career year. Why would it veer? Now, Jared Goff went on the radio and said the system has not changed, but the communication has changed. There's some stuff that has changed. So it was not a non-private thing. Jared went on the radio and said it, and another story came out about it. So there's been some change. And also, the Lions offensive line had some miscommunications. There was some things going on that looked different. And just at the eye level test, guys, you guys saw it. The pre-snap motions weren't the same. It wasn't the same offense. It wasn't fun. It wasn't explosive. It was described by everybody as unwatchable. So my question was, is it possible you considered, or is it feasible you just thought about not changing it all that much, or what's the idea? So I was really curious about it. And so what he then asked me set forth a little bit of a change in the direction of the conversation. He asked me, what's so drastic about what you're seeing? And I said, well, the stuff that most people have already talked about. The pre-snap motion is definitely not the same, which is proven. The lack of explosive plays, that didn't happen. You didn't score a lot of touchdowns when you did that. So then at that point, I just think, I don't know if it was the part where I said, Jared said that there's been change in communication, that set him off a little bit or irritated him. Something happened. I know I talk fast when I ask questions, but he asked me what was drastic about the changes. And so I said, this is kind of the stuff I'm seeing. But in the end, that's not, the pre-snap motion, that's all fine detail kind of stuff. I just wanted to know, when you have an offense that's so good that everybody loved and raved and talked about, I would have felt like it would have been simplistic to just keep it the same and kind of really operate from a perspective of the Bills came in there, dropped 40 points. Tanner Engstrand got the Jets to score and play a lot better. So I just feel like, in my assessment, the change happened of the offense because too many tweaks happened. I just wanted, in my humble opinion, to learn about why would you veer off significantly, little bit, inform me a little bit, how much was changed, because that offense, guys, just quite frankly, was atrocious, and everybody said it. But the weirdest part was, yeah, you guys said it. Dan tells me, I need you to go look at our pre-snap versus on the road this week versus what we did last year. And then 50 people DM me and said, what is Dan talking about? Here are the facts. So I don't know. I don't know how to take that. But in the end, at one aspect is specifically, why did you not use pre-snap motion to the degree when it's so good to help your offense identify the defense? So it just got lost in the words. Maybe my delivery was too fast. It's quick pace, man. I'm trying to get it out as fast as possible to explain to him what my thoughts are. Maybe I used the word salad. I don't know. But he asked me, what's so drastic about the offense? What is this you guys are talking about? And the first thing that came to my mind was pre-snap motion, lack of explosive plays. I felt it was a fair question. I humbly accept that my wrongdoing in this was that I didn't word the question in the ideal A+ way to elicit a good response from Dan Campbell. That's on me. I will learn from it. I'll grow from it. I humbly accept it. I believe the premise of the question was fair. My delivery is always going to be terrible when you're put on the spot. Like, remember too, Dan Campbell is standing 6 feet above me on this high podium, and I'm tasked with thinking on the spot when he's looking at you and he ain't looking too happy. But in the end, you'll always know from me. I believe I ask what the people want to know, unafraid. And my job now for me to do better is to make sure my delivery is crisp and clear so that Dan Campbell answers. But the answer that he needed to give was, why this offense looks so trash on week 1.
Yeah, I think, Doc, that was, and we talked about it before. And hey, Doc, you're always getting better, so I know the questions are going to just keep getting better.
Well, I want to ask you guys humbly. No, I didn't listen earlier. I was driving home. A lot of articles to write. Ben Johnson week. What did you guys think? Was it a fair question?
I think
you guys did the Jared Goff. Now, what I was trying to do was to include as much information so he would understand the premise. The premise is change. Jared Goff said there's change in communication. The offense doesn't look the same. The offense is not running the same. The routes were clearly not as special as Ben Johnson. So the theme was change. Maybe me including all the examples of change sent the conversation where it did need it to go. I should have just asked him, Dan, why didn't you keep the offense week 1 the way it looked like last year?
Yeah, that was honestly, Doc, that was just the feedback I had. I texted you the same thing as well, just the question of it. So I thought the question actually was really good. Like, I thought like what you were looking to ask of, hey, last year's offense to this year's offense in week 1, obviously it didn't look as explosive. It didn't look as good. Like, what do you feel like the difference is? That's what And I texted you that as well. So the delivery maybe could have got better. And I think you're going to kill it next time, Doc. So I'm not worried. I think Jeff had the same thought process as well when we talked about it.
Yeah, Doc, he just got confused, I think, because he's over here thinking, I don't know. He said, what did Jared say? He's like,
the Jared stuff.
It was
yeah.
I thought
there was a lot in it.
Whoever tweeted, I don't know if you have a guardian angel or something. I don't know what that guy, Scott.
That guy was nice, dude.
Tweeted out the actual data with like pre-snap motion and road games. And
it made sense. It did.
It's not even like a little discrepancy. Like I can see it's like, okay, well, Jeff, it's one game sample size. No, they were last pretty much in every metric pre-snap in week 1 compared to last year.
Yeah, and in the end too, like the biggest narrative coming into the season was the question marks about the coordinators. And the biggest selling point of hope was John Morton isn't new. John Morton is a tie to Ben Johnson.
Right.
But the doubters say, no, it's not going to be the same. It's going to be John Morton's twist. But guys, John Morton has no credibility in the past because he got fired from the Jets for running an offense that kind of looked like what we saw in week 1. So we can't just sit here and have it every which way. The idea is if John Morton comes in here and he built this offense and he worked with Ben Johnson to create a legendary offense, I want to kind of see that. I know it takes time, but unfortunately you're not burdened. You're not privileged with that time. You got to face another division rival, and then you face the Ravens. This is not the preseason. It's different times. You could find yourself being 0-3 in just 10 days. So, and the blessing of me being a consumer of heavy media, I 100% agreed with Herman Moore's opinion. He's like, no, change happens. You got to go out there and execute right away. And you got to make it look like, hey, things are changing. You got to play and execute at the highest level. It's the same team. So why is the same? You rationalize in your brain. Why is the same team with very similar talent? What was different? It was the play calls and the coordinator. That's just what it is.
Yeah, I want to ask you, Doc, to kind of take this thing a step further, because obviously going into this week, I mean, there's a magnifying glass on this offense, especially with all the weapons that they have. I want to kind of get your thoughts, because one thing that I thought the reason that they didn't look as good as, and the offense didn't look as great as it did last year, was obviously the fact that they only ran for 2-ish yards per carry, and they weren't able to open anything up because they could not run the ball if their life depended on it. What are your thoughts on that? And then as well as going into this week, do you have confidence that they're going to be able to turn this offense around at all and figure it out in week 2 versus the Bears?
Yeah, well, Jared Goff, and I believe you watched what Jared Goff said. He said, kind of we're easing into it. We're hoping to improve. But he said at the very tail end of his talk, I perceived he said that, from his time in the league, offenses typically don't get purring until week 3 or 4. So I'm a little bit concerned about that comment, in that it feels like this game kind of feel like a shootout? Like Ben Johnson's going to bring out all the tricks, bring out everything that he knows about offensive football for this week. I feel like it's going to be a game in the 30s on both ends. I might be wrong, but I feel like this is a game the Lions offense has to keep up. And I feel like first and foremost, the offense didn't get the benefit of extra turnovers from the defense. The offensive line really was the story. It looked like game 1 of a preseason effort by the offensive line. There was missed blocks, miscommunication, lots of errors, and it wasn't crisp. And in the end too, it kind of felt like some basic run plays that were not going to generate more than a couple yards. I mean, did that look like an exotic run package to you? Anything different? The one to Jamison Williams was nice. That got the first down, but you're averaging 2.1. Here's what was challenging. I had written a couple times that running in the interior through Graham Glasgow was a disaster. They tried to do that with the Packers, and it didn't go anywhere. So I just felt like, we were sold that John Morton spends an enormous amount of time preparing to get mismatches. But in the end, what we saw was the line just accepting what the Packers were giving and dinking and dunking it and hoping they could score touchdowns in the end zone. Just a simple adjustment. If you were going to play Isaac Tesla 3 snaps, wouldn't you maybe try to think about 7 and maybe 4 or 5 of them in the red zone when you were there? Just a little bit of an adjustment, utilize the skill players that you have, and hey, maybe he can catch a one-handed grab when the game is still within reach. But again, it just was an effort that was really eye-opening. It just was completely different. The offensive line, you would expect that. I always believe that good teams, epic teams, not teams that just are flash in the pan to win once. There are teams that you can kind of bring in players and you have a scheme and everybody can fit it. But if you're going to keep tinkering and changing and having all these things to match the skills of the players, I don't know. That's a good question to ask. I'm hoping that the Lions effectively change, but now they got to show it. I think the home crowd definitely will bring down the miscommunication. Clearly, it's going to be a quiet crowd during the offense. Remember, don't cheer when the Lions offense is on the field. You got to be radio silent when they're out there, and you scream your head off when the Bears are out there. But until I see it, I want to see what that offense look like, because right now it's all talk and hope, and until we see what the next level is, because episode 1 of the Lions 2025 offense was terrible. Skip to the next one.
Doc, what'd you make of the Jameson Williams extension that happened on Saturday? Just thoughts on his extension. Were you shocked, a little surprised, not surprised? What do you think about it? Him staying in Detroit, because they got 2 years of control and he's here a couple of years.
Absolutely smart. Absolutely smart. I was shocked to see a lot of pushback on Brad Holmes saying that, how are you going to pay a guy $1 million per catch? Look, the expectation for Jameson Williams is that he's going to have 1,000 yards and maybe 10 touchdowns. I feel like the value, $27 million, based on what he could potentially bring, his salary doesn't kick in until 2027. So the value that you get on a player for the next 5 years is unbelievable. You have to take it if he accepts it. Now, if you're JMO on the other side, if we were just having a cocktail, I'd say to him, you didn't want to gamble a little bit one more year, this year and next year? I know you got your 60+ million guaranteed, but if you ball out this year and they throw you the ball and you ball out next year, you're maybe talking 5 years, 200 million, 40 million a year. The market is continuously rising and rising and rising. Amon-Ra got 30. CeeDee Lamb is up there. If you trust your own skills, you might have left money on the table. So kudos to JMO. In the end, realistically, he took a hometown deal. That's a hometown deal if you ever see one, because in the end, his numbers haven't shown it yet, but I feel like you can be confident that JMO is going to be 1,000-yard receiver and a deep threat, you hope. But, man, that's a great contract, great value, gives you a lot of options. If you end up wanting to trade him, everybody in the world would want him. If you want to keep him, you have him under control for the next 5 years. And I really, really respect that, to have Amon-Ra, JMO, and Tesla for the next couple years. That really helps Jared Goff if you're of the opinion that he needs as many weapons as possible. Keeping JMO was unbelievable. It was an A+ move. I was very surprised. I thought that maybe on both sides there'd be a little bit more waiting, but, Brad Holmes, very smart to get guys, and I think that's what he's good at on certain deals. He gets guys early to avoid balloon payments later. And for JMO, it's a good deal. 60 million plus guaranteed. There's a chance for more.
Yeah, other side of the ball, Doc, Aiden Hutchinson. Obviously, they don't have a deal done with him. Can I just get your thoughts on the game with Hutch and as well as Marcus Davenport? I know a lot of media spoke with Davenport in the locker room today as well. Some did. And then I know you guys did speak with Aiden Hutchinson as well. What was your thought process leaving Sunday afternoon, seeing what that, not just the edge room, but just the pass rush? It felt like a bunch of times they sent 4, 5, 6 guys, or really the 5 and 6, and they just weren't getting home, and guys weren't. The frustrating part I said earlier today, Doc, that to me was like guys standing up and the effort just wasn't there in moments when you would watch some of these snaps. Did you get the same feeling from that room on Sunday? And is it kind of, are some people in Allen Park and other reporters and people kind of have that same thought process?
Yeah, it's a major concern because you didn't pressure Jordan Love. That was the story of the early part of the game. Jordan Love, on a couple third downs, had some ample time to survey the field and pick apart your defense. Anybody, any quarterback in this league, if you give him 3-4 seconds, is going to be able to pick apart your defense. So that was unfortunate that they weren't able to get off the field. What was really scary was just how good. Look, you have to first and foremost give the Packers credit. If you watch the Lions, Booner, watch the symmetry of the Packers offensive line. Their footwork was epically amazing. They were reading everything the Lions were doing. There was a play where Alex Anzalone tried to stunt to get into the gap, and the guy was already there. Like, they were moving in sync, in unison, like it was unbelievable. That was A+ offensive line play from the Packers. It just was. And they outmatched and outsized the Lions. It was challenging because it was a game where you tried blitzes from the linebackers, didn't work. Aiden was taken out of the game, and the running backs blocked. It was just an A+ effort from the Packers. What's concerning is when you watch, Dan Campbell said it now, has said it for 3 years. He said and he was asked yesterday and today, which almost made me laugh because he was asked the same question twice. If Aiden's doubled, where the heck are you going to get some pass rush from? Where? And he's like, these guys got to win one-on-ones, but they haven't been for 2 years. I might almost have to ask, what does the one-on-one win look like? Like he said that, everybody loves to see the speed rush off the edge. Yes, we'd love to see that, but Marcus Davenport's not that guy. He's more of a bull rusher. You don't have traditional interior rushers that are going to accomplish that significantly on a consistent basis. So that takes away Tyleik Williams. That takes away DJ Reader. They stop the run. They're not really the sack masters. Where are the sacks going to come from? Where? I don't know if they really truly have the answer. Winning one-on-one battles seems like a cliche. Yeah, Marcus Davenport has to beat the left tackle. Well, unfortunately, good teams are going to have good left tackles. And I'm not so certain that until I see it, that they have enough capability to blitz effectively until you see it. The capability of being exotic in their blitzes, getting home. So you're absolutely right. One of the most disappointing things is that the rush didn't get there in any way, shape, or form what it would need to stop an offense. But now, not every team has the capabilities that the Packers brought to the table, so you might be able to get some more wins. But Dan Campbell said that Ben Johnson will never allow, basically, Aiden's going to get doubled again this week. So who wins? Who wins the battle? Is it going to be Marcus Davenport? Is it going to be, in the end, it's rough to say, but you might need to play Al-Quadin Muhammad more. It seemed like his pass rush win rate was to the degree that it might warrant some more opportunities. So it's a challenge. It's a big question. There's no answers to it because we haven't seen it. Now, the concern was we can't expect the Lions to be a team that's just going to massively sack the quarterback. They haven't showed that, but to only get 2-3 total pressures in a game is not acceptable in regards to what you're looking to accomplish. You need a lot more. You need to disrupt the quarterback a lot more. You need to be more forceful. It needs to be a lot better. But here's the problem, guys. The defensive line coach has been a revolving door. So I'm hoping that Casey Rogers stays this year and next year to see some continuity. This is why everybody was screaming for Za'Darius because, teams that, look, it's an age-old adage. You guys know it. You can never have enough pass rush help. But they didn't want Za'Darius Smith. They couldn't find younger. And this is the byproduct. You have a quarterback in Jordan Love that picks you apart and stays on the field longer, and you don't execute at the level, and they take away your best player. That's a nightmare recipe that everybody did not want to see. Nightmare scenario.
What'd you think of Terran Arnold's kind of up and down play there? People went from he looks really good to this guy stinks. Would you make, because I thought early on, Doc, he looked like the Terran Arnold we saw in training camp, but later on, as the game went on, before he left, he didn't look that good. But what'd you think of, or I guess that's just the secondary as a whole, like you were talking about, but specifically Terran Arnold?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, like we always say, friends, do not let friends play cornerback. And also, injured cornerbacks are just at a big disadvantage. He injured his groin early. He looked okay. He was definitely a little bit stickier. I thought that his positioning on a couple routes resulted in some great pass breakups. Unfortunately, listen, this is what was really, in the end, what I think activated a lot of anger from fans too, was that LaFleur out-schemed John Morton, point blank. That pick play was amazing to Jaden Reed. Did you know that Jaden Reed went to Michigan State and is a Spartan dog and seems like against the Lions kind of activates himself and plays? Listen, I hate to see, great plays against the Lions, but Spartan dogs seem to deliver this weekend as opposed to, the new clean program over there in Ann Arbor that I don't know if it's going to work for me anymore. Maybe you should call Connor Stallions. Maybe the Lions should call Connor Stallions, see if we can get some defensive tendencies too. But let's not digress to, wait, was John Morton also calling plays for Michigan? It kind of looked like the same. Is Sharon Moore? Have you guys seen Sharon Moore and John Morton in the same room together? They seem like the same kind of offensive mind. I don't know.
Doc, just focus on getting to a bowl game.
Wait. I think John Morton, if he flops in Detroit, I think he should go run the offense for the University of Michigan. That can be great. Run, and nobody does anything exotic. That reminds me of the Michigan offense.
Now, what about not Aiden Childs? Not your guy Aiden Childs, though.
Aiden Childs looked really nice.
Get yourself to a bowl game first, Doc.
But I'll say this, man. Getting, your opponent gets paid too. What was disappointing was the Packers just brought it on every level. Offensive line was great. Their defensive line, I mean, Micah Parsons gave him a spark with only 29 snaps. That's what, in the end, I think the Lions fans were desperate to see, is a guy that brings you a spark that kind of says, hey, focus more. This is a championship level. Doesn't the Packers look like a team that said and declared themselves, we're here, we're the team to beat, and come do something about it? They look really good. And I was of the expectation the Lions would look like that. The Lions are looking like a team that just want to ease into the season and peak at a different time, but that's fine. But I don't know if that schedule is going to allow that. In the end, I think what maybe, if we're just spitballing it with Dan Campbell and what's upsetting him, I think 99.9% of the time when him and another mind put together a plan, it typically works. It typically evolves the way it needs to. Like, the plan was, let's keep it kind of reasonable. Let's dink and dunk, like he said it out loud. When I asked on Monday about the verticals question, about it kind of seemed like the route concepts didn't have spacing. It looked kind of all the same, jumbled up. It didn't look right. The depth of routes weren't right. I said it kind of looked simplistic. I should have said predictable, but I said simplistic because it looked simple to me. When you guys are running all at the same depth, that's kind of easy. You need some depth of route. You need some different combinations, some in routes, some vertical routes, some zone busting routes, get in the middle of the field. You need a little bit of something. And so I feel like Dan Campbell, John Morton put together this plan with the true belief that they would score touchdowns and dink and dunk their way to a win. And when it didn't happen, when it blew up in their face, when the Packers were dictating a little bit more to them, and now Dan Campbell's got to answer for it, I just don't think that the combination of losing and answering for a game plan that was not as good as your opponent's, that's just a recipe for a not happy coach. So maybe in the end, don't displace his anger on me. He's not mad at me. I just think that the constant reminder that maybe all that work that they did just for that 1 week wasn't the most optimal plan for that week to get the win. That's just the case. I think that's what it is. Dan's not mad at me. Dan loves me. I think Dan's just mad at the fact that I have to bring up the game plan wasn't good enough to win, and you got out coached by Matt LaFleur this 1 week. That's just what happened. Man. LaFleur ran circles over John Morton in every way possible. It's just right on film. You can see it.
What letter grade would you give? Well, I guess not even letter grade. We know how they were. I guess I would say your confidence level in this offensive line moving forward with Graham, especially. I don't think people realize too. A lot of people just keep saying Tate and Christian Mahogany. I think Graham's kind of in that conversation too, because we have seen a lot of different clips and different kind of film breakdowns with Graham at moments struggling too at the center position, and that was like his first game as being the full-time center. That interior though, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think they're going to be able to figure this thing out moving forward?
Yeah, no, there's talent there. Listen, Tate Ralledge is a road grader. I think he's a guy that can get to the second level. They just need to communicate and actually just get on the same page. Listen, I don't know. There was a change in communication. I don't know what that means. I didn't get enough information from Dan Campbell to learn what that meant. I wasn't going to ask that. It's kind of a specific question, but there was a change in some level of discussion on some of these calls, and they got to hone it in. They will have more time. The home field advantage will take advantage of that. There'll be more quiet times. They'll definitely spend the week communicating and not having as many miscommunications. The interesting part was from Dan Campbell. He said, I want to cut it in half. He knows that there's going to be some level of adjustment here. Look, we do give him that grace, but I mean, to the degree, guys, it was drastic. It was a drastic change in how the offensive line looked. It made, listen, everything that you did not want to talk about, we're talking about. Everybody's using the name Kevin Zeitler. Listen, you know it's a bad week. You know how you know it's a bad week for the Lions? The doc has to ask tough questions. You're talking about Kevin Zeitler. You're talking about the offensive line, and you're talking about John Morton. That's not what was expected from week one. They needed to be like, we need to keep that little troll off our ass, and we better win this game, or we're going to have to answer from somebody about what we're doing. And so that's a bad week. You put it behind him. I am confident. It's not a bad football team, but I was of the opinion, and like I said, sometimes you don't need to hear it from me. Sometimes other people just manifest their words in such a beautiful way that it just comes out from somebody that's a ball knower. Would you guys, if you call me a non-ball knowing hack, would you think that Herman Moore knows ball? He came out there and did a video, which was beautiful, which I posted and agreed with at Detroit Podcast. He said, there is no, let's wait and see. You got a ball from day one. And then Equinemius St. Brown basically said the same thing. The fans are panicking because they said, Nothing's changed but the coordinator. Nothing. The talent's there. You got a young offensive lineman, but he's not a red shirt. He's expected as a professional who gets paid to block, to open lanes, and to do his job. So I'm of the opinion everybody, top to bottom, the game plan, Dan Campbell, John Morton, everybody clearly, when you flop that bad, I think it produces a result, like Booner said, the potential for a lot of points to be scored to keep up with the Chicago Bears. I think this could be a very entertaining game, but I'm not sitting here anymore confident every single week that they're going to win. If they lay a dud, if there's going to be a smoothing out process, if they're going to try and change things, I don't know, because you have to say it. Listen, you have to say it. I'm worried that this offense, if it doesn't look like Ben Johnson's offense, with all those injuries, there actually wasn't that many injuries last year. Ben Johnson's offense running at that rate didn't win a championship. Does a guy who doesn't have experience calling plays, does that signal to you that he's just going to revolutionize an offense at this level? You have to hope. You can't expect it, but there is, some things right away you can start to do. Block better, and you got to get Jahmyr Gibbs involved. Like 2.1 yards for the effort. That was a crazy record that Jahmyr Gibbs set. You got to start with getting the run. And to me, I joked around on Doc and Jock this week. I said, maybe you just start the game off passing it 10 straight, something a little different, a little more exotic, a little bit more set up the run with the pass. Try something different. But if that offense stagnates, then yeah, the game could be high scoring, but you might not be able to keep up.
Doc, what'd you think just now that I guess the NFC North has played a game, all of them? What do you make of this division now with young JJ? You got Caleb on Monday night. You got to see those two square off. And then the Packers. Do you think the Packers hype is legit? They're favorites to win the division? And what do you think of the two young quarterbacks, Caleb Williams and JJ McCarthy?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the Packers showed you just exactly what winning football looks like. If you have to go to Green Bay and remember, Micah wasn't even healthy fully, 29 snaps. And that was really concerning too, was Penei Sewell didn't have his best game. He looked outmatched at times. He had a nice couple reps against Micah Parsons, but he got worked. Taylor Decker got pushed back into Jared Goff. The offensive line play was really, really rough. And Dan Campbell had to say maybe that will produce more opportunities next year for the preseason where some young guys play a little bit more, but you also got to worry about injuries. So it's a tough challenge because the division said that's the respect that the Lions get. Is that the Packers said, we got to upgrade. We got to make a move. We have Rashawn Gary, but we need someone else that we know can win. You can never have enough pass rush help. And what do you know? Micah Parsons, when he dialed it up, what happened to the idea that, Micah can't stop the run or the Packers run is over or the Packers can't stop the run? It seemed like maybe that narrative that somehow got started online, which is factual, but it got back to the Packers and they hyper-focused on it. So that was rough. The Bears, I expect Ben Johnson to be very, very, very successful with the Bears, just not this year. This year's a year also he's got to learn how to coach and the fine points of the game, when to kick it out of bounds, timeouts. There's a whole lot more than just calling plays when you're the head coach of a team. And he's going to learn that lesson. Like I said, I feel like, 6-7 wins, they'll be competitive, they'll learn, they'll grow, and then they'll be formidable. The Vikings are interesting. The Vikings have the kind of team that you would kind of want. You get Jordan Addison later in the year. You got Justin Jefferson. If you got a quarterback that starts to have that it factor where maybe he's not the most talented, not the biggest arm, not the biggest of everything, but just really, really good at everything, and you got that leadership quality. Listen, in all honesty, now that he's a pro, he's away from that. I'm proud of the fact that I think that he can evolve into a quarterback at this level. There's no better spot he's going to be in. Kevin O'Connell is a quarterback whisperer. He's going to definitely pour everything into the game. I think that sitting, maybe even being injured for a year would have helped him learn the mental side of the game. And sometimes some guys, and it's just for whatever reason, JJ McCarthy has it. He has it. And I think he's got something that, might be having one of those games where starts off 0 for 6, 0 for 7, a pick. But then in the fourth quarter, when it's go time, money time, Connor Stallions calls him up and says, okay, I need you to do this, this, and this. And then they starts really understanding how to beat NFL teams. So listen, if you're willing to cheat to win, then you're a gamer, man. I respect it. If you're willing to be part of a program like Michigan's and understand all that they had to go through, and you're willing to go through that fire, you get respect in my book.
Yeah, I also want to ask Doc, and I know this is listed with this Lions team and this loss versus the Packers going into next week. I know a lot of people want to like, hey, put week one in the past. I want to ask you, there wasn't a lot of positives out of the game. Was there anything you took away, whether it's a player, just anything positive that you could take out of that game? I tried to say a whole completely different word there. And was there any players or anything that you saw that you're like, okay, there's something that they could take into next week?
Well, yeah, in the second half, the defense did settle in. The defense locked in a little bit and gave them at least a position to be able to succeed. I thought the run defense early, man, they were flying to the ball. Tyleek, the pass rush, I don't know what the philosophy was on the first couple of rushes he had, but you said it. It didn't look like a pass rush, specialty for the entire defensive line. But the run defense looked good. I felt like Josh Jacobs was not a big factor. They ran to the football. The tough part, I think, is that they were close to making plays. Brian Branch would have had a nice pick six, but unfortunately, Rocky Sin is a player that's expected to kind of be that role player. He had a penalty. The penalty on Aiden was weird and maybe unnecessary, but some of the good plays in some games where you're not playing good, some of your good plays get wiped away. I felt like if Alex Anzalone got that interception, man, that might have been a nice momentum builder. So they're around the football. I feel like they're there. I felt like, okay, after the rough start in the first half, I felt like, okay, the defense settled in and looked a lot better, forced some 3-and-outs, and were able to get off the field a little bit. So you got some momentum there. And I just think that special teams was really rough all across the board. Sailors really didn't have much of an impact. What do you know? Maybe you pick up that Gibson dude, a lot of speed, even though he made a butcherous turnover there and fumbled the football. He's got some talent. So I don't know. Maybe you pick up something from the Jets, but I love the fact that AG's like, if you turn the ball over, you're getting cut. And he actually did it. So some bus tickets are flying out there in New York. It's really is discipline. This Detroit Lions team cannot take that many penalties, cannot have that many mental errors, missed assignments. It was wild to see. It's just wild to see because in the end, what's panicking is that, and I guess I'm putting it into words really effectively tonight with you guys, is that looked like the 2021 Lions. And everybody that sat down and had the basic channels that I had, we sat and watched Tanner Engstrand, first-year offensive coordinator, looked like he used Garrett Wilson great, looked like he turned a mobile quarterback into Justin Fields, into a guy that can move the football and extend plays and be a little bit creative. You saw the Steelers with Aaron Rodgers look good week one. Aaron Rodgers, okay, and you mix that in the middle with the Lions' offensive 1989 offense that didn't do anything, and then you turn on, you get mad, you try and figure out what the heck happened with the Lions, and then you sit down and you watch the Bills and the Ravens, and you go, at least week one, the Lions aren't in that class. And that's what I felt like the Lions should be. And maybe it's an over expectation because, you did have those coordinators and it was denial and you didn't want to believe all the outside narratives. But week one, the Lions were one of the worst 4 games on the schedule. The Lions were one of the worst 4 teams that played. That was not what we're expecting for a team that has largely the same starters, just a couple new pieces. And it really harkens to the anger that people felt that Brad Holmes did make moves, but not enough to take them beyond what they were able to do. So it's week one. It was not good. It opens up some concerns, but listen, the number one thing everybody always says, you guys know it, winning cures all. All this stops if John Morton dials up a trick play. The offense looks better. You run some in routes. You know what that means? You run 10 yards and like 2 guys come back and then a couple guys go in the middle. You know what I mean? Some route, some exoticness. We like exotic. Listen, outside, Amon-Ra St. Brown's podcast was awesome. His explanation was great. He's like, we're the fan base was used to winning and they used to be losers and now they're winners. But no, we like what we saw last year. We love that. Like that was A+ prime rib. That was beautiful, medium prime rib, juicy au jus sauce, the great mashed potatoes with the gravy, the butter on the bread, and an amazing price and a great date. And we were all like, we like this every week. Every week, it's a beautiful offense. It's prime rib. It's delicious. We like it. It's our favorite restaurant. Served with a beautiful Chianti. It's beautiful. Great music. No riffraff in the restaurant. Great service. And then you're like, yeah, there's a new general manager of the restaurant. It's going to be the same food, bro. It's going to be delicious prime rib. The music's going to be here. No riffraff. The tip, you don't have to worry about the tip. Don't worry about it. All the men. Then you go in the restaurant and they're like, you dang near got some Costco prime rib. This ain't the same thing. This doesn't taste the same. Doesn't look the same. It's cheaper. And you're trying to charge me more for it. And the music sucks. Who are these kids playing this music? This is not delectable, light music. What is this? And then you got people going, it's the same thing, bro. It's prime rib. It's delicious. Bro, I'm not paying $200 for the same prime rib you were charging me $89.99 for. It doesn't taste as good. And it's not it's not rare. It's not medium. You cook this shit well done. You can't sell people that got full on the deliciousness that you were serving. You can't change it up on them. Nobody wants that. We love what we had. I love what we had. I thought that was a Super Bowl caliber offense. And you tried to serve us some janky prime rib that wasn't cooked right. And you can't sell it can't tell me that it's prime rib and then serve something else, man. So I want that offense to look good. And I hope it happens, man. I really hope. Listen, I'm not pulling this stuff out of my butt. John Morton said it. He's like, I'd be crazy if I changed it. He's like, I'm going to throw the ball deeper more. In the end, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense because even if listen, if I'm crazy, if I'm a non-ball knower, you tell me. If someone's playing too high safety, everybody in the league is going to try to play Tampa 2 on you. Doesn't mean you dink and dunk every play. Just launch one deep to help the offense go from 2.1 yards a carry to maybe 4. Like just launch one 45 yards down the field. If it gets picked, it gets picked. So be it. You paid Jameson Williams to win. I don't care if he's in double coverage. Some receivers have to win in double coverage. You just throw the ball deep just for the sake of not even thinking of a completion, just to take away the pressure from the offensive line that's getting pummeled, because the Packers don't respect you anymore. So, man, that's just what everybody felt. I felt it. You all felt it. And I was just curious enough to ask, why change the great thing? I like prime rib. I like delicious prime rib. I like au jus sauce. I like nice prices. You trying to sell me something that ain't what it was. And don't sell me that. I don't want to see that. Listen, football in its bottom line is entertainment. I was not entertained by what I saw in the middle portion of my football viewership. I was jealous. I was mad. And then I tell myself, that looked like the furthest from a Super Bowl team that I ever saw the Lions look in Dan Campbell's regime. And I don't want to see that ever again. I don't care. It's the NFL. You only get 17 games, and it's a fast season. You could be blinking at 0-4 just like that. So you got to step it up. And listen, if the worst thing that happens this week is just a bad question from me and they fix this offense, fine. But fix that offense, because that's not what anybody in this world wanted to see. None. Nobody.
Well, Doc, I was going to ask you too, just going into this Thursday or this Sunday, this Sunday game against the Bears. They're staring at 0-2. What's kind of your concern level? You think the Lions, no chance they're going to bounce back? I know you mentioned it earlier. It's going to be a high scoring game, and you expect the Lions and the Bears to score a lot of points. But I know I kind of talked about this on the show earlier this week. But if you start 0-2, the chance to make the playoffs is significantly less. It gets very, very scary. Where are you at with how important this game is, and just because you're staring at the Ravens the following week? Is it a must-win, Doc? Is this where we're at? We're bringing out the must-win in week 2, or?
Yeah, it's a situation which you have to win your home games. It predicated, and just to address your chat, did you guys listen to what I said? Go watch what the Bills were doing. Were the Bills dinking and dunking it? And I'm not saying I want an interception, but I would believe that if you feel like your offensive line can't block at all, you have Shane Zylstra and Sam Laporta, some extra blocking opportunities. You can't tell me that Jared Goff on one route can't just launch one deep and see what happens. Listen, you were already down at that point, or some opportunity to be a little bit more explosive early in the game. They weren't misblocking the whole game. So that's all we're saying, is that offense looked nothing like an offense that could move the football and score touchdowns. So it was a grind. They did dink and dunk and started moving it a little bit, but then it got bogged down. So I'm more of the aggression. And that's, again, what John Morton told us. So I'm only going off of what he told us. He said, it's going to be the same thing. We're not changing much. He told us literally, again, remember, our job is to listen and believe, not listen and then doubt. He said, Johnny, I'm throwing the ball more. I like explosives. He says, I love explosives. Well, if he loves explosives and you just run a Tampa 2, Johnny's going to quit and just dink and dunk all the way. That's not exactly the recipe. So remember, John Morton told you that. I'm just spitting back what he told us. So we didn't see what he told us. So you don't think the Bears are going to do Tampa 2 or great football teams like the Ravens or anybody that's trying to stop you? Everybody's trying to stop you over the top. You still got to take chances. You got to be more aggressive. Look, my philosophy this year has always been you got to win a chunk of your home games. It's got to be 8-9 wins at home, and you try to go 3-5 on the road. The first one, didn't go right. You didn't get a free win against the Packers. But if you win your home games, you have a great chance to go 10-11 wins. It really kind of sets up that way where this is a football team that wins all their home games and loses a big chunk of their road games, which would be fine and still puts you in a 9-10 win situation if you could just get 1 or 2 on the road. So I'm excited. I do believe, listen, people realize this football team has been counted out before. They've been, and there was one answer though. Listen, as much as we critique one answer, Dan Campbell finally said something that I said on a podcast, and I said it multiple times on air, that was absolutely A plus chef's kiss. He's like, he's like, this is the standard now. When you're a Super Bowl caliber team, every move that is made is analyzed. That's the expectations, analyzing, overanalyzing, overreacting. Doesn't this beat being irrelevant? It beats it to me. This is the most amazing, most fun I've ever had, where you see a football team that falls so far flat that a guy like me is going to be like, your standard is so high that looked nothing like it. Why change it? Why? This is the standard, which is you won a game. How come you didn't win by more? You won 2 in a row. How come you didn't dominate? So this is the standard. Dan Campbell said it. This is the new life now for the Detroit Lions, where when they play a game and they play the Packers at 425 and they look like that, the whole world's going to talk about them. You would always rather have that. Guys like me, other guys that want to ask questions, you'd rather have this level of intensity of focus on your team than what it was in 2019. 2019, the Detroit Lions could have done whatever the hell they wanted. Nobody would have came. Nobody would have cared. It would have been irrelevant. Now you get national media that comes here. They pick apart the team. They learn. They scrutinize. This is the most pleasurable that this football team can be at. And that's a product of the great work that Dan and Brad has done. But again, you have not finished the job. And this football team needs to be, don't let up. Just because, some fans want to be slappies and they want Dan Campbell to sign their autograph, don't let up on Dan. When Dan wins the first Super Bowl, we all get drunk at the parade, and then the next day you tell him get back to work because we want 2. He's that good of a coach. He's that good of a mind that he wins 1, why not 2? Why not 3? It's there. It's in him. So we all get drunk at the parade. We're all hungover the next day on that Friday, but then that Saturday he needs to get back in there and figure out how to win the next one. That's the secret, is that you never – listen, a lot of fans just want Dan Campbell to love them and appreciate them. I would, of course, love that. But in the end, I'm always of the opinion, if Dan wins 4 Super Bowls, I'm always going to ask, why didn't you win 5? What happened to that 5th Super Bowl? What happened to that loss? What happened to that in that playoff game? What happened in 2023? Really, why didn't you push in 2023 to get more than Donovan Peoples-Jones, bro? You could have had that 1 right there. We could be at 1 already right now. I am never going to be satisfied with what's going on. And I think the number one thing, if you all hate me or don't like me, I'm not a slappy and I'm not in that category. Go tell the slappies over there, is all you can do is be hopeful all the time? Is that really how you want to present yourself to the world? It's just, it's great. We're going to win. It's great. Nothing's wrong. No worries, no fears, no concerns. Everything's great. John Morton, I thought they told you there's no concern about John Morton. The slappies are the ones that lie to you. The slappies are the ones that tell you it's raining when they're peeing on your head. The slappies do that. What we do here is just being honest. Like, you guys you have my utmost respect by saying, I'm not so certain that some things are going to happen that I need to happen. So slappies are fine. It's cute. It's nice. But I believe that the majority of fan base of this Detroit Lions fan base does not like when you get peed on your head and then tell them it's delicious.
Yeah, Doc, I do want to ask you, we actually didn't have the conversation with you about Za'Darius, I don't think. I think he ended up signing after last Wednesday, if I remember correctly. And you were a big one in regards to the whole situation. What are the thoughts on this whole Za'Darius thing? And then obviously the Jadeveon Clowney thing. Matthew Judon signed with the Dolphins. I still can't believe that. Those are my three like dreams, were those three guys. And I kept pushing it. And the only guy that's left right now is Jadeveon Clowney, which he was in Dallas today, left without signing a deal. What are your thoughts on this edge room? Do you think there's like something, Brad, say Davenport doesn't work out, and last week he obviously didn't look good and this continues, do you think they get Jadeveon Clowney or even consider it after losing out on Za'Darius? Because it felt like the money with Za'Darius they could have easily done.
Yeah, I think it was after where it was crazy in regards to Za'Darius Smith. People were not happy. And look, it's just it was interesting to see that the Cowboys had a visit with Jadeveon Clowney, but it's not likely going down. So we'll see. But I just feel like Dan and Brad like young, talented defensive linemen, and they don't want, guys in their 30s that they're counting on. Look, the whole Za'Darius thing, it went down professionally. When Dan Campbell said we're good, okay, a lot of people gravitated on me just leaving out the rest of it. It didn't, like I said last week, it didn't need to all that context. The Lions felt like they were good. Many of you are probably right that they probably could have used and probably will add more defensive line help. The season might end up proving that way. But they didn't want Za'Darius Smith because Za'Darius Smith got money up to $9 million. He was always going to go, like I said, which I shared, thankfully. You guys let me clip the show and share it. He was always going to go to the highest bidder. And that was that. Many people hoped it should have been the Lions. They got the cap space. I would have said, just looking at it, if you're playing advanced chess and you know what Howie Roseman is, I would have just took him maybe to prevent another team from getting him. Just let him sit and learn, develop. If he gives you 5 sacks, it's better. Just a preventative move. It might have been worth it. It might have been a win-win where, okay, he doesn't fit exactly what you want. You give him that contract. Maybe you say, okay, you can earn up to $10 million. You come here and you just do what you got to do. You prevent him from going to the Packers, Bills, and eventually the Eagles. Look, when Howie Roseman signs you, you get the stamp of approval. You then make people go, well, if Howie loves you, then Brad should love you. So everybody's right. If the Eagles saw that their pass rush wasn't great and they saw Jalen Carter doing his, Hakalugi plan and they felt like they needed to upgrade, you do that too. Howie Roseman's the OG, man. Howie is just an OG. He makes mistakes, cleans them up, and wins rings. So if Howie likes you, then Doc likes you. And I know many people agree that you can never have enough pass rush help. And you also maybe not so wise to let a competitor get somebody that maybe now can hurt you. At least give some secrets as to what he now knows or potentially knows about your rush plans and how to block. Even just for the sake of information, Za'Darius is valuable to the Eagles. In the end, if it's not Za'Darius, please, when you guys are saying your prayers at night, throw one in for, can there be a young, hungry bull rusher? Dan's right. We all love to see the speed rush off the edge where nobody touches you. We don't have that. So I would love to see that. The power rush is cute. It's nice. But this is the NFL, bro. I want to see some Myles Garrett action. Like, that's amazing. Myles Garrett is amazing. Amazing. He almost had 3 sacks on 3 plays. Like, that guy was disruptive, and there's people in his face. That is just unreal level production. We just want somebody at that position to be dominant. And hopefully it's going to be Aiden, but he's going to get some doubles. And if nobody wins their one-on-one battles, more and more people are going to be really upset you didn't get somebody that recorded 9 sacks last year. So you got to you need a young, hungry, amazing edge rusher that can record a lot of sacks consistently and get after it. So in the end, Dan and Brad said, we're good. At the present moment, at September 10th, 9:41, we're not good at the moment. We're not good at the offense, and we're not good at rushing the quarterback. Oh, hopefully it gets better, but right now it's all hope.
Yeah, it's almost like you had a guy in here that was 7th in the league in pass rush win rate. It's weird. Now he's on the Eagles, but whatever. Doc, before we get to kind of the mailbag, which, by the way, get your questions ready for the Doc, because we will get your questions to him. He'll answer them. What's your score prediction for this weekend, this Sunday, Lions-Bears, and how do you see it going down? You kind of teased it already, a higher scoring game, but how do you see it playing out? What's your score prediction?
Yeah, and also, too, if you're the kind to be wishful, I disagree with your chat. Frank Ragnow, come back. Please, Frank Ragnow, come back. Frank, come back. Frank, listen, 6 million, 7 million, 8 million.
Give him
9
part
million.
ownership in the Lions.
Listen, Frank Ragnow, come back. Come back right now. Listen.
Jeff Bezos is buying the Lions from the per the Doc.
Frank Ragnow, come back right now. Jeff Bezos, I don't know if he can afford it anymore. I mean, my goodness, the price keeps going up for these teams. Now that's a funny one, Booner. That's really, really funny on your end.
What's so funny?
The Lions are not for sale at the moment because they got to win the Super Bowl in order to maximize the $9 billion sale. They can't sell it yet until they reach the top end.
Did I read the article wrong?
Back in 2019, there was just an amazing story written by the Doc that also started this. It's full circle, right? I started off in 2019 writing nonsense, and now I'm asking nonsense. So it's a full circle moment. We still can smile and have a good time with covering sports. That's fun, man. You can rile it up. That was a great story. Just go look it up. Jeff Bezos rumored buying the Lions. It's an amazing story. It's just an amazing story where who the hell let this idiot into the media? Oh my God. Who let this guy talk on all these shows?
I didn't realize, if I'm being honest, Doc, I didn't realize that was something from 2019. I just read it today and I was like, oh, the Doc found something good here. I had no clue.
Oh my God, Booner. Oh, see what I'm saying?
I read the article too. I just didn't put one.
The whole context was that was one of my first first intro stories that I put a rumor in front of.
That's why I'm not the smartest, shovel in the shed or what. I don't even know the saying, but no, I'm not. I just read that article and I go, wow, Jeff Bezos might buy the team.
Oh my God, Booner, oh my God, I'm so glad you did. Oh my God, that would have been so funny if you would have slipped up and that would have made its round again. The other aggregators would have did that as well. Oh my God, that would have been really funny. But look, in the end, I have fun with this. I do think in the end with covering sports, it's a fun endeavor. You should be curious. In my humble opinion, to be a sports reporter, you should be curious and you should read everybody that's Detroit Lions reporters' work, in my humble opinion. But some don't. Some just skip 90%, or some skip a certain portion of information. I don't know why people would do that. I mean, that's really wild to publicly state, I skip 95% of information that's out there. Oh, okay. That's awesome. That's great. Great knowledge. That's great. It's great to know. But here's some knowledge that's now free and available if anybody wants to use it. I feel like the Lions are going to rebound. They're going to be very furious at all the mistakes. It's the home opener. You're not going to do that to your fan base. It's Ben Johnson. Dan Campbell knows that left and right. He's got to have input. Ben Johnson's learning on the job. It has the feel of the Bears offense that's going to be good at moments, but can't sustain it for all 60 minutes. There'll be some explosives. Rome and Dunze will make some plays. Look for Colston Loveland to be somebody to kind of kick it off a little bit, but tight ends in their first year, the Lions typically struggle at times with tight ends and coverage and all that kind of stuff. But in the end, this offense has to show something a little different. This offense will not look like that again. I would be shocked with that talent playing that way 2 games in a row. Absolutely not. So I'm thinking Lions 31, Bears 27, and the fan base is happy. It's going to be one of those deals where the Bears will make it competitive. It'll be fun. There'll be a trick play here or there, but the Lions are going to win by 4. They're going to make everything okay, 1-1, and then primetime game against the Ravens. So they just got to look more proficient. They'll look more clean. It'll just look smoother. It might not be as exotic, but Amon-Ra will win reps. Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs can't go 10 catches for 31 yards again. The Lions, I just feel like, are going to play so much better that they're going to be able to win this football game. 1-1. Dan, and Doc will get back on Dan's good side because then I'll say, man, John Morton is so much better than Ben Johnson. It's the best thing I ever saw. Man, John Morton, he actually is the dink and dunk legend. This is amazing. He's reminding me of Steve Mariucci. Remember Steve Mariucci when he came in here and ran that West Coast offense and everybody was like, I don't know if you guys do, but people in the chat, man, that offense was stale and terrible. And it looked nothing like an offense that was going to ever win anything. So it's going to be like, no more Marty Morningweg talk for John Morton. It's going to be, man, thank God we got John Morton. He's so much better than Ben Johnson.
Well, Doc, to start us off, we got asked this earlier, and I want you to answer it. What happened to the Hutch rule? He's so good, he'll probably get 20 sacks. So I was told by practice watchers.
Yep. Just a fan, you kind of hinted at some disdain for the assessment of what was going on. Well, actually, you also have to look at the whole picture. I hope you can do that. You know, Booner said that he reads a story and doesn't read the years in the story when he sees it. So I will let you know that when a defense plays an offense, there's another way also to assess it. You can credit Hutchinson, which you should. He's a good player. But also, it also indicated that some of the problems you're seeing on offense were real. The Lions offense wasn't good enough to stop Aiden Hutchinson. He was matching up against Dan Skipper quite a bit, but also he was facing off against Taylor Decker. And Hutch was in the preseason going up against an offensive line that was struggling. And so that's what we saw. He was playing really well, really fast, got after it. But now, this game, what did you see? He got chipped. He got blocked. You're not going to have, what do you think you're going to have Jahmyr Gibbs block Aiden Hutchinson repeatedly over and over and over again? What are you going to have, Sam Laporta chip Aiden Hutchinson all day long? 60 minutes, bro. So the game plan, and also too, the Packers are legit. I'm telling you, just a fan, take some time, drop the $200, watch the film. It's beautiful. And actually, just don't even look at it from the Lions' perspective. Look at it from just how beautiful the Packers' offensive line played. They moved great. Communication was great. Everybody needs to be where they need to be. Josh Jacobs blocked effective. They just said, Aiden's not going to wreck us. And they effectively chipped, blocked, and A+ strategy to stop that every team should utilize. And Dan Campbell expects the Bears to do the same kind of thing. So, but Aiden's also a Superman, and they'll figure it out too. So I got the Lions getting 3 sacks this game. Let's hype it up. Aiden gets 1 or 2 and gets good opportunities. Aiden can beat double teams. Remember, this is a player that's coming back from something significant. Maybe the first game, a little more mental, but don't sleep on Aiden. All you can go off of his history. He's had 1 or 2 games, little lull, and then boom, he can drop 3-4 sacks. What better way to drop those sacks in bunches than against the Bears? Let's see it. Let's put it out there. Let's manifest it.
Ghetto Boy wants his mailbag. What grade would you give Dan, Ben, and AG after week 1? Yeah,
no doubt. And on Friday, they're going to raise the banner for being the best preseason team in the history of the world. I felt like we should credit this one's for the slap. All the slappies get invited, where you can go clap for the Lions and see the banner raising for being the best preseason team and having the best single joint practice in the history of joint practices. Let us have one, guys. Come on. At the moment, it was fun, dude. It's you don't see, because you don't see it. You don't see one team dominate another team in a joint practice. You never see it. So we celebrated it. If you don't like it, so be it. Remember, the most media, 10-7, 11-6. Now, if you follow the slappy media that want to tell you 12-5 and 13-4, maybe you should not follow them, or tell them, hey, come back down to earth. 10-11 wins is more realistic. Come back down to earth just a little bit. What grade would I give Dan, Ben, and AG after week 1? Ben, C. The coaching blunders were too much. I felt like the scripted plays were amazing, but then the offense went terrible. It was like, man, they waited for the doc to praise Ben Johnson a little bit, have some fun, and then the offense went cold. AG, B-. I felt he had his team ready. They were after it. The offense looked good. Again, turnovers will knock you down. Too many undisciplined. You could say C+ if you wanted to, but I felt like, that team, you also got to remember they lost an offensive lineman to a season-long injury. That's a brutal injury. They still scored points. I like Tanner Engstrand. There's no secret there. And I like Steve Wilkes. So I love that coaching staff. So B-. And Dan, sorry, guys, D+. That was just not the right game plan. Was not the right look. He said it himself, right from Dan's mouth. When the game plan's too complicated, too many mistakes, too many miscommunications, you felt like you put too much on their plate. That means you didn't practice right. You didn't game plan exactly right. Wasn't optimal. Your team didn't look as good as your opponent. Your opponent looked ready to go against you. and you didn't match the table. So D for Dan Campbell, and he probably the same thing. D. Let's go D plus. You showed up, you got a D plus.
Let's see. Peaceful Tim. Does Doc act surprised if his chair is moved to the back of the class tomorrow?
No, guys, it's fun. Look, in the end, it's all learning. It's all respect. Whatever happens. Look, no, it's simple. Here's what I'm going to do tomorrow. Here are my questions. I'll tell you. Kelvin, I noticed that you like to run Aiden in coverage there. Do you think he could be a defensive back? Do you think he could spy Caleb Williams this week? Is that going to be an effective plan? So that's that. That's one. John Morton, look. Why aren't you Ben Johnson? Are you going to change your name to Ben Johnson? Are you going to, are you going to watch Ben Johnson film all this week? I know you get here at 3:30. How much is Ben Johnson's influence going to shape your game plan this week? So simple kind of stuff, just regular kind of questions that are not going to be triggering in any capacity. Nothing like that. Kelvin, you've been promising sacks, you and your defense, winning one-on-one battles for about 3 years now. You're still last year among the worst rated sack team in the National Football League, and your pressure has kind of come down a little bit. Thoughts? No, I'm going to start. Maybe tomorrow might be the slappy day where I'm just like, Kelvin, that first half was a little tough, but the second half looks so much better. I feel like how much momentum can that bring you moving forward into the Bears game?
Last question, Doc. I just want to throw this out there. Is there a lot of pressure on your next question with Dan Campbell? Because the last two times you asked Dan a question, this obviously today and then the time before, he had that kind of laugh. And are you now like next time, like I need to have something good ready here?
Oh, I forgot oh my gosh. I didn't think about this till now. I honestly did not think about this until now. When I do my schedule, I honestly, you brought it up. I didn't think about it. When I make my schedule, guys, Friday is a day that Dan Campbell talks fast. He wants to get out. The players don't talk. So I skip Friday. I make my own schedule.
You're there Friday. You got to be there this Friday.
I skip it.
You have to be there Friday, Doc.
Oh, do I just show up? But that's
Doc,
weird.
You
then.
have no. I think you have to be there Friday.
I skip it. I mean, I have stuff to do. I
know, but
as
a professional, you can't make it. I'm just gonna say this: you can't make it look like you're backing down from Dan. You have to be there.
I've skipped it for 5 years because the players don't want to talk. And half the time, it's a waste of my time.
I think this Friday you have to be there.
It's a waste of my time. Humbly speaking, the players don't want to talk. It's half the time it's an empty locker room. And by that point, I've written so many articles, you don't want to write anymore. And Dan Campbell does like a 8-minute session instead of 10. He wants to get out of there. So I've always skipped Fridays. I think
you have to do it Friday.
I can't not skip it. It's that's the routine that the Lions have been using. And if I show up there, that's also going to be weird because I never go on Fridays.
Jeff, what do you think? You think he's got to go, right?
I'm going to skip it.
It depends. If he hasn't been there, I guess it's a little better because it's not out of character.
I skip it because listen, in the end, to your point,
it's a big week.
I ask questions that I believe the fans want me to ask. So if 50% of fans have this thought in their mind that, hey, I should ask Dan Campbell this question, and the whole world doesn't like it, I still probably am going to ask him because I also felt the same way. I mean, I said people are saying, and I'm wondering too, why change anything? Why? And also too, it wasn't like I said, why change? Why not run the same offense? I said, is it feasible to have that conversation of, this offense should look exactly copy paste, put it out there on the field year to year with the same talent? He could have answered that question, guys, literally with 10 seconds of, listen, John, I know what you're saying. It's going to take time for this offense to purr. I like what John Morton can bring to the table. I know Ben made it exotic, but this offense in its own way can also be championship level. And we're going to make those tweaks. It didn't show up week one. That's all he had to say. It wasn't like some grand gesture. It's not like it's this out of the box thinking. Your job as Dan Campbell is to know when your offense looks like that and it's so different. And this is the week you're playing Ben Johnson. All we're trying to figure out is what's this offense going to be? What's the difference? And what is the potential of what this offense is going to look like? So basically I fast forwarded 5 weeks, maybe to try to answer the question faster, but he felt the heat. And listen, again, I truly don't believe it was that tough of a question. It's just you had a beautiful offense. You didn't show it in week 1. Why not? Why wasn't it looking a little bit closer? And it was a simple question. And I also, like I said, just tried to add a little bit of explanation because Jared said publicly there was a change in communication. They've changed things up. And maybe Jared wasn't supposed to say that. And I wasn't supposed to say that. Who knows? But whatever reason, it went that way. And but that's my job. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm built that way. And you said it when you introed me. I'm built that way. Thankfully, I'm not worried what people think of me in any capacity. And if they put me in the back, I've been in the back before, I'll just scream it louder when I ask a question. I'm only asking one question a day. And I truly hope you respect it. If you didn't like it, I apologize. I'll try and do better. But it's just me trying to bring you guys as much inside information as to why. My job is to kind of figure out why. That's it. And I asked kind of that question. It might have been dumb, but hey, I earned the right to be there. And guess what? If there's one question dumb today, at least you got another 5 months of me at least to see me. And listen, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. So they might throw me out, but in the end, I do believe you two respect me for the willingness to be direct. And if you ever walk in that room, be like me and just ask direct questions and you'll find an avenue of learning about your Detroit Lions.
There you go. Hey, we love you, Doc. They never
Doc.
change.
You guys.
Hey, we'll always support you no matter what, Doc. We got your back. You keep crushing, my friend. All right, keep crushing. I know you're live on YouTube, so people can go subscribe to the DOC. Link will be in the description. Check out the Doc's articles, Detroit Lions on SI, and of course, give him a follow on X. He's a good follow on X as well at Detroit Podcast. Doc, we'll talk to you next Wednesday. Good luck this weekend. Good luck tomorrow.
That's it. Let's go, Detroit Lions. And hey, make sure now that they cranked up the microphones. Listen to my questions and find out, what am I going to ask tomorrow? Is it going to be salacious? Is it going to be entertaining? Is it going to be factual? What's that? We got till tomorrow. Let's find out.
There you go. The DOC.
Hey, love you, Doc.
Joining the
What a good convo.
Joining the program, talking to the fellas here. We appreciate you all as always. Appreciate the Doc for coming through on Wednesdays and chopping it up with the fellas. We'll be back tomorrow. Flannel Fridays. It's
Moves
now
tomorrow.
Thursday this week because of
week.
some schedule conflicts this week. So Thursday we'll have Sam tomorrow, and we're going to talk more about the Lions-Bears game. So tune in tomorrow. It's going to be a good one. But till tomorrow, 8 p.m.
Love you guys. See ya.
We'll catch you all. Peace.